This is one of those stories that, since it's about automated journalism, robot journalism really should write itself. But the technology, at least for television, is not quite there yet. It is, however, already working its way into some types of reporting. Whether you've realized it or not, some of the data-driven journalism you've seen online may have been produced by robots, computers. Financial reporting, sports updates, or earthquake alerts are the kinds of stories already being produced without human involvement. One piece of software, Wordsmith, created by a company called Automated Insights, produces thousands of earnings reports every quarter. Another video creation platform called Watch It means that hundreds of news videos can be generated and uploaded to news websites and social media automatically. The upside for news organizations is obvious. More stories produced more quickly with fewer people to pay. But what are the downsides for news reporting? The Listening Post's Meenakshi Ravi now on the implications of robot journalism.
Breaking news about an earthquake in California, a first look at Apple's quarterly earnings, and a report from the field moments after a game of college baseball. 3 stories. You'd think at least 3 journalists would have been involved. How about none? Software-aided reporting has been dubbed robot journalism, and it conjures up images of metal machine men roaming the newsroom. In reality, automated content is the work of just a piece of software that, instead of helping you with word processing or virus protection, helps you produce news reports.
These technologies use artificial intelligence and natural language processing to convert data into news stories. They use algorithms that produce these story forms.
Now, these are not sophisticated stories. They're stock quotes. They may be sports scores. So really, stories that don't require a lot of thinking.
You can do a lot more, a lot quicker. It's a lot cheaper to do it. And in essence, in some cases, you might even be making fewer mistakes.
If the data is qualitative, it doesn't matter if it's a Senate subcommittee hearing or a meeting of Parliament. As long as that data is tracked and documented somewhere, we can pull that data and write a story from it.
So if you're a mere human journalist, the information for a news story would be facts, quotes, maybe a personal angle. The robots in the newsroom need much less. And they don't run on coffee. Give them numbers, a set of pre-programmed narrative parameters. For instance, an earthquake measuring between 2.0 and 4.9 on the Richter scale is classified as light, whereas 6.0 to 9.0 varies from strong to great. Add a dictionary full of words and specialist terms. Think tensional stress, main shock, plate tectonics, and your computer can spit out story after story on a topic. Don't expect verbal flourishes or any emotional insights. The copy will be cut and dried. This is algorithmic journalism, and companies like Narrative Science in Chicago, Watch It in New York and Tel Aviv, and Automated Insights in North Carolina have spotted the potential in the market. Since July 2014, Automated Insights software, Wordsmith, has been used in the newsrooms of the Associated Press, AP, to produce corporate earnings reports. It's one of the first large-scale implementations of software-produced journalism. And according to the AP, it's a productivity bonanza.
Each quarter, we were spending about 20 to 25% of our time during earnings season writing these earnings reports. And universally, my reporters pretty much hated them. Really, it wasn't the best use of our time. And we found a way we could automate it and free up that time.
Before Wordsmith, the Associated Press would write about around 440 companies per earnings season. After Wordsmith, they can write close to 5,000 articles on these companies per season, and that number is growing.
We haven't reduced any jobs because of this. No one's lost their job, but we put that time back into our journalists' hands. And by doing that, they're doing the things they went to school to do and got into journalism to do, which is to report and dig and develop sources.
Technology can be both good or bad for an industry. But in terms of robots and jobs for journalists, what you have to think about is we're in a state of change, and a lot of the journalists losing their jobs is because the industry is changing, not because some algorithm was developed to write stories.
One concern with automated journalism is that it really privileges this idea of the types of data you can use. This is usually quantitative data that's pretty easy to feed into the machine and have have it spit out as a story. And so what we'll get is certain types of stories with easy to get data, where other types of stories that are much more difficult to get won't be fed into the machine. They won't become stories.
But for those who evangelize about automated content, their main selling point isn't the type of stories their software can produce. It's about the quantity they can churn out, what they call the quantity multiplier effect. According to Automated Insights, its Wordsmith program can produce 2,000 stories per second. A standard 8-hour day would mean 57 million plus stories. Whether there is that much news or not is a separate question. Watchit, the online video creation platform, whose clients are, amongst others, USA Today, Germany's Spiegel Online, and Euronews in Lyon, France, says you can source footage and edit video packages of about 1 minute to 2 minutes long in half an hour or so. In a live newsroom like Al Jazeera's, editing each minute of reported news takes on average about 3 times the Watchit edit time, an hour and a half.
Well, with any kind of automation, you're going to get more quantity. Whether it's making cars or, plowing fields for fruit, automation produces productivity. You look at your Twitter feed and there's 400 stories going on at once. So I don't see it as a bad thing about putting more content into the world.
With automated journalism being able to produce so many stories, what happens is that we shift from this idea of journalism telling us the very most important stories of the day to this idea of lots and lots of stories. And they may only be available or interesting to a few people all the time. And this really shifts what journalism does, because journalism has been about establishing the news agenda. And when we shift to automated journalism, we have this much more pluralized environment where there are lots and lots of stories. One of the main reasons that robot journalism will, in my opinion, become popular is because it fits the economics of how online news works.
A minute of broadcast television, it can be up to $2,000, right? It's insanely expensive. So we can help drive those costs down from a monetization perspective. On average, you make as much money selling or putting ads against a Watchit clip as opposed to something that you have produced, say, using your traditional workflow. So it makes sense commercially, makes sense on the revenue side, but it also makes sense on the cost side.
Given the advertised cost and time efficiencies of online video creation platforms, we thought, why not give the technology a try? And it worked. Once we'd filmed the interviews, written the script, and worked out how to use Watchit, it took us just about 3 hours to put together this report. You can watch that version on our Facebook page. We decided not to use it on the show because what we learned in our experiment is that services like Watchit or its competitor Wibbits aren't aiming to serve TV networks with their exacting broadcasting standards. They are geared primarily towards online outlets that are in a hurry and want to cash in on video that's on trend and can be produced within hours of a hashtag going viral. So the quality isn't quite broadcast standard, but that isn't the point. This is about clicks and instant views, and ultimately about money.
I don't think what we're going to see is robots writing the front page of the New York Times for us. So over time, I think we'll see more robot journalism fit into regular journalism. But what I think we'll see is a hybrid approach where robots are writing part of a story and humans are writing part of a story. And what we'll see is journalism that speaks to the strengths of both. So robots are very good at analyzing big sets of data, finding some narratives in those, but humans have a creative edge. They can see different kinds of patterns.
If a robot reporter were writing this story, it would tell you what has happened, what has already changed. What robots wouldn't be able to tell you is where this trend is going, how far the integration between technology and in-depth journalism will go. Even if they could make that prediction, maybe they'd rather not tell us.